Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm Zinclair Samoa.
And I'm Kate Snow. NBC News Daily starts right now.
Today, Friday, April 4th, 2025, breaking news deadline extended. President Trump is giving TikTok 75 more days to sell to a U.S. owner or face a nationwide ban. Why he's giving the company more time and where talks stand at this moment.
Deep dive. Stocks melt down for a second day over President Trump's extensive new tariffs. China is already striking back, announcing tariffs of its own against America. What all of it means for your money, your spending, and your savings.
Actor accused. British prosecutors charge comedian Russell Brand with rape and sexual assault. The new details we're learning about the allegations and what he's saying.
And shell shock. A 300-pound loggerhead turtle saved by an incredible chance encounter. You're going to see how it happened. It's today's good news. We could use some good news on a Friday afternoon.
Absolutely. Thank God it's Friday.
Yeah.
We are going to begin this hour, though, with that breaking news involving TikTok. President Trump has extended a deadline to keep the app running in the United States. ByteDance, TikTok's Chinese-based parent company, originally had until tomorrow to find an American buyer. Otherwise, it would have been banned from U.S. app stores. President Trump says he's giving ByteDance another 75 days to make a deal.
Morning News Now anchor Savannah Sellers has been following all things TikTok for us for a while now. Savannah, what else did President Trump say about talks on a possible deal for TikTok?
Yeah, absolutely. So we got this post from him on Truth Social, and actually, just in the last few minutes, we are also hearing from ByteDance. That is big news because we have not heard from them really at all in this process. Forgive me, I've got one phone for each of these. So first, I'll start with you on what President Trump had said. As you mentioned, he said this is an additional 75 days. He does not want to see the app go dark. We don't actually ever think there was a real threat of it going dark, by the way, because the president has indicated that he is very friendly towards the app and therefore most likely would not collect on those fines, which would have made any service providers like Apple and the App Store or Oracle hosting their data nervous about getting hit with those billions potentially in fines. But he says he wants it to stay online. Also notable, he ties this to tariffs. This is something that we have been hearing him say over the past few days, but he's put it in writing here saying, we hope to continue working in good faith with China, who I understand are not very happy about our reciprocal tariffs. Now, he had teased in the past few days that maybe he would give China a reduction in tariffs should they push through a TikTok deal. Now, though, we've seen what China did today, slapping those tariffs right back on the United States, potentially indicating that TikTok was not at all a motivating factor for them here. ByteDance, for its part, again, this is the first time we're hearing from them through this entire process. They say ByteDance has been in discussion with the U.S. government regarding a potential solution for TikTok U.S. An agreement has not been executed. There are key matters to be resolved. Any agreement will be subject to approval under Chinese law. Kate?
And Savannah, there's been a lot of back and forth here. This is the second time the president extended this deadline. So what does it ultimately mean for TikTok's long-term future?
Yeah, it's a great question, Zinclair, and really it's a great question because of that last sentence I just read there. Any agreement will be subject to approval under Chinese law. There are so many open questions here that impact the future of this app. In the short term, like I mentioned a moment ago, I do believe this stays online without much impact to users. The larger question is, should China not agree to a sale? And maybe it's caught up in these other things, like I just mentioned, the fact that tariffs have been slapped on them, for example, and they're quite high, and now it's turned into a drama between the two countries. Does that mean that we ultimately do not see a deal on TikTok? And then what does that mean in order for users? We're not sure yet. Zinclair, Kate?
Yeah, a lot of unanswered questions at this hour. Savannah Sellers, thank you so much.
The president's TikTok decision comes as the global fallout from his new tariffs grows.
Just 2 days after those tariffs were rolled out dramatically at the White House, they have dramatically impacted the U.S. and global economies. The stock market is cratering for a second straight day. Part of the reason for the plunge? China hitting back at the U.S. with a tariff of its own, matching the 34% President Trump levied on China on Wednesday. Companies and consumers are kind of being caught up in the middle of this escalating trade war. An analysis by Yale University's Budget Lab says the totality of President Trump's tariffs in his second term could cost the average household $3,800 a year.
President Trump is touting some good economic news today. A new jobs report shows the U.S. added 228,000 jobs in March, far outpacing expectations. We should note that this data does not include the bulk of the job cuts across the federal government. Leading us off this hour, NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez and NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung here on set. So, Brian, we'll start with you. We know there is a lot of worry on Wall Street. What are the economists you're speaking with saying about the future here? I know we heard from Fed Chair Jerome Powell earlier today.
Yeah, over the past few days, a number of economists have been raising the red flag over the impact of these tariffs. It seems like unilaterally across the board, they expect us to take a hit substantially on not just economic growth in the United States, but around the world. You have J.P. Morgan in a note last night noting that the odds of a global recession, they say, were raised from 40% to 60%. So a very serious warning there. And as you mentioned, we did hear from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell today. He stewards the nation's central bank, and he was saying that tariffs are highly likely to generate at least a temporary rise in inflation, but it's also possible that the effects could be more persistent. Again, this is essentially the nation's top economist saying that we worry inflation could be reignited after we made so much progress over the last few years post-pandemic.
Let me go to Gabe at the White House. So, Gabe, the White House has repeatedly denied that these tariffs are a negotiation tactic, kind of insisting they were here to stay. But President Trump wrote on social media today that he's open to negotiating with Vietnam. He also, as Savannah mentioned, said that in the context of TikTok, he wants to work in good faith with China. So is there some wiggle room here?
Well, Kate, certainly a lot of mixed messages from the White House, and I should point out I'm actually in West Palm Beach because this is where President Trump is today out at his golf club in Palm Beach County. Now, the president has been saying now that this is all part of a negotiation. He said it yesterday on Air Force One. He reiterated it again this morning, this despite other White House officials insisting that this was not a negotiation and that it was simply meant to realign global trade. But just a short time ago, the president posting on social media that he did speak with the leader of the Communist Party in Vietnam, and he says that Vietnam wants to cut their tariffs down to zero if they are able to make an agreement with the U.S. And again, the president now trying to link his tariff policy to not just better relationships with other countries, but as you were talking about with Savannah, potentially a TikTok deal as well. It remains to be seen, though, whether this will be successful. And again, we keep getting those mixed messages from the White House about the purpose of these tariffs. Katie, say goodbye.
Gabe, thank you. Brian, so let's end with you on this jobs report. We mentioned the numbers look pretty good. So what are the key takeaways and what might it mean for interest rates?
Yeah, as you mentioned at the top, 228,000 jobs added in the month of March. That, by the way, talks about or references the middle of March. So this is prior to all the tariff action and only covers a fraction of the federal jobs that DOGE claims to have cut. But that 228,000 job gains is pretty much well above what economists were expecting. They were expecting something a little closer to 140,000. So it's a pretty solid jobs report. The unemployment rate at 4.2% is in line with recent months and actually consistent with the end of the Biden administration as well. When we talk about these fears of recession, these numbers don't tell us that we are in one right now, a healthy labor market. But does that change as a result of the President Trump's tariffs war? We'll have to see.
All right, Brian Chung, Gabe Gutierrez, thank you both so much.
Well, we have a lot to cover today, and we've talked about the tariffs triggering confusion, some panic, some fear of an escalating trade war as well.
Yeah, and as prices rise here at home, you might be asking the simple question, what is the end game for the White House here? Joining us now, NBC News senior correspondent Tom Costello. Tom, I understand you looked into the strategy behind raising tariffs. Walk us through the goal.
Well, you know, it's kind of complicated, but to make it simple, this is about whether the U.S. wants to continue being a key contributor in a fair global economy where products flow freely across international borders, or whether the U.S. wants to protect American companies and bring manufacturing jobs back, which could mean higher prices here at home. Think for a moment about everything you own. Your car, furniture, your dishwasher, your computer, cell phone, clothing, tennis shoes. How much of it, if any, is made in America? Chances are not much. The economy went global decades ago as U.S. companies moved their manufacturing to other countries with cheaper labor and fewer regulations. The president's goal, bring those jobs back to America. To do that, he's making products made overseas more expensive.
We may have short-term some a little pain, and people understand that.
The Commerce Secretary insists companies will move back fast.
Everybody's going to move their factories here, and America is going to become the producer of much, much more of what we consume.
But most experts say it typically takes 3 to 5 years to build a new factory. All of it reminds many economists of a trade war that started in 1930 when President Hoover raised tariffs on imported goods to protect American jobs. Today, Hoover is blamed for making the Great Depression worse. In the 21st century, when America leads the global economy, can it afford to turn protectionist? The free trade versus protectionism argument has grown heated on CNBC.
If people make a decision to buy something from abroad, isn't that part of the freedom and independence people have?
They don't make
to
that
buy
decision.
things?
They make the decision to buy what's cheap, and that's the problem. Okay,
That's
we're
a
going to make
problem.
it so it's not artificially cheap anymore. Let people buy things made in America, period.
The White House and its allies say realigning the economy is like remodeling your house.
It's going to be really annoying in the short term when your house is getting remodeled. The reality is that remodel has got to happen in order to make things stronger and more stable on the back end.
Okay, so then the question is this. How long will it take to remodel the house or the entire economy? How much will it cost consumers? How long will it take to rebuild a manufacturing base that's been gone for decades, right? And will these tariffs lead to inflation and recession? And at the moment, that's the fear on Wall Street. You guys, back to you.
Tom Costello, great reporting.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That really helped. Let's stay on your money now. Hershey is striking a deal with a well-known popcorn brand.
And attention, Mega Millions players, big changes are on the way. Kate Rooney joins us now with your chances, your changes, and today's CNBC Money Minute. Hey, Kate.
Hi, Zinkley and Kate. So Hershey is choosing what we're going to call the lesser of two evils. So the chocolate maker striking a deal yesterday to buy the popcorn brand Lesser Evil for an undisclosed amount. The Wall Street Journal, though, reports the price tag is roughly $750 million. Lesser Evil makes a range of snacks using what it says are better for you ingredients. So think of popcorn made with things like avocado oil. Meanwhile, vacancies for film and TV soundstage lots in Los Angeles have hit historic highs. That's according to a report from nonprofit group Film LA. 17 studios that operate LA's stages posted a 63% average occupancy rate. Last year, that was down from 69% in 2023, and the figures are a steep drop from 2016 to 2022, when studios reported a nearly 94% occupancy rate. And today is your final day to try your luck with Mega Millions, and that draw for $2. On Saturday, the price for the tickets are going to go up to $5 per play, but in exchange for the higher price, the starting jackpot will go up from $20 million to $50 million, along with a slightly better odds of winning from 1 in 290 million to 1 in 302 million. So,
Well,
it's
you
still
know.
So it really
steep
was
odds.
changes and chances. All of that is shifting.
All of it. Kate Rooney.
Thank you.
Thanks. Still to come, a Maryland father who was legally in the U.S. deported to a notorious jail in El Salvador. Why a judge today says he has to be returned home, and when. That's next on NBC News Daily. Bottom of the hour now. Here are some of the stories making headlines on NBC News Daily.
South Korea's constitutional court has unanimously upheld the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol. Yoon was impeached in December after he attempted to impose martial law, saying the South Korean government was paralyzed by the opposition. In a statement after the ruling, Yoon said it had been a great honor to serve South Korea. According to South Korean law, an election for his successor must be held within 60 days.
The remains of 4 soldiers who died during a training exercise in Lithuania are returning to the U.S. today. Lithuanians bid farewell to the soldiers, ages 21 to 28, during a departure ceremony on Thursday, with the nation's president and other government officials paying their respects. President Trump will not be in attendance when the fallen soldiers arrive back on U.S. soil. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is expected to attend the transfer in his place.
And a Michigan couple who were held in a Mexico jail for a month over failure to pay a timeshare have returned to the United States. Christy and Paul Akeo say they were jailed in Mexico after a Palace Elite Resorts claimed the family defrauded them out of $17,000. A Mexican state attorney says the couple reached an agreement with the timeshare company but did not disclose an amount of money. The prosecutor's office said a judge then dismissed the criminal case and ordered their release.
Well, President Trump's aggressive new trade policy, new tariffs we've been talking about, will have Americans paying more potentially for everyday items.
My wife already has actually started to sort of penny pinch, not overbuy.
I'm going to have to hold off on some things I definitely was planning on doing this year until we see where this economy goes.
We're living paycheck to paycheck as it is, so it's going to be a great inconvenience to myself and many other people.
I mean, if this is what Trump believes will be best for the economy, then I'm all for it.
Things like cars and clothes, food, furniture could all see price increases. Even coffee, not immune. Coffee imports are facing U.S. tariffs for the first time since colonial America, increasing costs to importers and roasters already dealing with supply issues and near record prices. NBC's Dana Griffin joins us now. She's been looking into this. So, Dana, what are we talking about? How much more could a cup of Joe cost folks now? And you're speaking to folks, I'm imagining a lot of folks are not very happy about this.
They are not happy at all, Kate. And right now, we just don't know dollars and cents, but it could range between 10% and 46%. That's because the top three producers of coffee that is consumed here in the U.S. have been tariffed 10% to 46%. That is Brazil, Colombia, and Vietnam. So it's creating a lot of frustration for coffee drinkers. We're at a coffee shop here in Burbank, California. And as we showed up, we saw, friends who were just out discussing this very matter. And one guy is not going to stop drinking coffee, but he's obviously not happy about it. Listen.
I drink two cups at home. I have a cup here. The guy I meet with every day, he comes here twice a day. But, we're not going to, I know he's not going to stop coming. I'm not going to stop coming.
And there's another woman that we spoke with. She was buying bulk coffee that she usually produces or that she makes at home. She bought 3 pounds today because she just does not know how much her favorite coffee is going to cost her in a matter of weeks or months.
And Dana, what are the smaller coffee shops saying about how they're going to handle the new costs?
I think that they are still trying to figure that out. I spoke to the owner here at Priscilla's Coffee. He says the price will likely go up, but they just don't know by how much. Right now, the coffee that they are brewing is what they bought months ago. Coffee has a pretty long shelf life, so they've got a reserve for about 6 months. But over the next few months, we can expect the cost of your favorite cup of Morning Joe will likely increase. Kate?
Wonder if Hawaiian coffee will get more popular. Dana Griffin, thank you.
President Trump has reportedly fired the top 2 officials at the National Security Agency. There still has not been any official word from the White House, but a defense official and 3 sources with knowledge of the matter tell NBC News the 2 were ousted from their positions yesterday. Hours after the news went public, a far-right conspiracy theorist took credit for their removals. NBC News senior national security correspondent Courtney Kube joins us now with more of her reporting. Courtney, good to see you. What have we learned so far?
Yes, and Clay, so this far-right conspiracy theorist is Laura Loomer, and a lot of people may have heard of her. She has been known for her conspiracy theories about things like the 9/11 attacks being an inside job. Well, she's now claiming credit for exactly what you just reported, and that is that the head of the National Security Agency, General Timothy Hawk, and his deputy, a civilian, Wendy Noble, were both fired yesterday by the Trump administration. She is claiming that they were disloyal. Clay, I have to say, I have been asking questions since late last night. There is no information that I can find anywhere that would indicate their disloyalty. And on the contrary, intelligence officials and senior Democrats on Capitol Hill have been talking about General Hawk and his deputy, Wendy Noble, as being loyal and longtime career intelligence officials. Now, General Hawk served more than 30 years in the Air Force. Before he took over the NSA, he was dual-hatted in that job as also the head of U.S. Cyber Command. He took that over in February of 2024. His deputy, Wendy Noble, is a career NSA official. She's been there since 1987, where she started as a cryptologist. Zinkley, in the intelligence community, it is generally seen as an asset and cheered by the IC officials and personnel when you have someone who is sort of brought up in an agency and ultimately rises to the position of leadership, as Wendy Noble has done. Now, there's still no official word from here at the DoD about these firings or, again, any reason that they took place. Zinkley?
Great reporting, Courtney Cubie. Thank you.
Well, shortly after taking office, President Trump suspended the nation's refugee resettlement program as part of the administration's wide-ranging crackdown on immigration. That has left tens of thousands of refugees in limbo, including Afghans fleeing the Taliban. Joining us now, NBC News White House correspondent Yamiche Alcindor. Yamiche, I know you've been looking into this. You spoke with two Afghan brothers who are being directly impacted by this order. What did they tell you?
That's right. I traveled to Nashville, Tennessee to talk to two Afghan brothers who are praying that the U.S. and its officials will eventually repay the help they gave the U.S. military by allowing the older brother's family to come to the United States. Here's that story.
My family, my kids, they don't have future over there.
It's been 3.5 years since Mir Mohammed Asif Ansari last hugged his wife and 7 children. He, along with his brother, Mir Nasratullah Ansari, frantically left Afghanistan in 2021, fleeing just as the Taliban took full control of the country. The army was saying, you have to leave now.
Yes, we didn't have any choice. That was the decision. It says, if you want to leave, you can leave now, I can help you out. If you want to stay, I don't know.
No guarantee.
No guarantee.
The two brothers say they worked for years on U.S. military bases selling supplies and later helped as translators at a Kabul airport gate during the chaotic U.S. withdrawal. The brothers worried they and their family would be in danger and targeted by the Taliban if they stayed. Now Asif is worried he may never be able to bring his family to join him in Nashville, Tennessee. How hard is it to not have your family here?
I think that feeling is really difficult to explain, because if you have a family, you know that feeling.
On the first day of his second term, President Trump signed an executive order that led to the suspension of the nation's refugee resettlement program. The White House didn't respond to our request for comment. The order was challenged in court, but now an appeals court says the suspension can take effect on new requests, potentially leaving tens of thousands of Afghans who help the U.S. and their families at risk, including Asif's family. Some are due to receive special immigrant visas, or SIVs, for their work for the U.S., though the brothers applied for asylum, hoping for a faster process. Tell me about the situation in Afghanistan for your daughters and for your wife.
They have to stay at home. They don't have rights, no education.
A feeling this former Afghan soldier who worked alongside U.S. troops says he knows all too well.
It's very hard to live. I cannot work. I cannot freely walk outside.
We're not showing his face and not using his full name because he says he's afraid and living in hiding with his wife and 2 children. We spoke to him via a translator.
Some of people being tortured by the Taliban, put in the prisons, and some of them being killed.
What would you want to say to President Trump if you could speak with him directly?
I will tell him that he should not forget about those Afghan allies, that they work and fight shoulder with shoulder with American soldiers.
Rob Uberty, a retired Navy SEAL who worked with him, wants to see the U.S. do more.
They're the right people to help, and they were kind of brothers in arms. The people that I work with that I truly trust, it's just a handful of them, and he's one of them, and I think that we should help them.
In December, right before President Trump took office, Nasrat was finally able to bring his wife and 3 children to the U.S.
I'm so glad, I'm so happy that I have my family, but I'm sad because of my brother, because of all Afghans that they work with U.S. Army, help them out. They are alone with their family, and they don't have anyone to help them to bring their family.
Now his brother is also praying he too will have his own reunion.
I feel depressed, yes, I feel, but I'm fighting with it. I'm just fighting because of those kids that I left behind.
Yamiche, what does the path to the U.S. now look like for this family and for so many other families?
Well, according to the nonprofit Afghan EVAC, around 10,000 Afghan families are still separated since the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. But there isn't much Hassef or others can really do but pray and hope for the best. It's a really, really tough situation, especially for his wife and children who are essentially living like they are in jail, he said, because they are terrified of the Taliban and their very restrictive rules for women who aren't even allowed to speak in public or attend most schools. Kate?
All right, Yamiche Alcindor, very important reporting. Thank you.
Now for some good news. A loggerhead turtle named Lenny faced a dangerous fate following a shark attack when a team of rescuers brought him safely to shore and nursed him back to health. NBC's George Solis has more.
It all centered on this crucial moment. But before this majestic creature of the sea was returned to the water, the loggerhead sea turtle named Lenny faced an uncertain future even after 6 to 7 decades of life. That's underwater photographer Mike Papish, who rescued Lenny last month from a reef in the Florida Keys. Lenny is believed to have survived a shark attack that left him with a badly damaged flipper.
You think he sensed that you were there to help him?
Once we got him actually onto the boat, he kind of calmed down. He almost had this look in his face like, okay, it's over.
With some help, Mike rushed the 322-pound marine reptile to the Turtle Hospital in Marathon, Florida. The team worked around the clock to save the largest loggerhead they've ever seen. Betty Zirkelbach is the manager of the hospital.
It's cool for us to get to see those animals up close and personal. This guy we turned right around because his blood work was normalized, he had no sign of infection, and he needed to get back out here.
Lenny, now much better thanks to his new friends,
1, 2, 3.
headed back into the turtle ambulance
It's okay, Lenny.
to return where this journey first started. Then it happened.
Bit emotional?
Always emotional.
So was Mike Papish for that deep blue farewell.
He looked back as I was getting his last shot and then just kind of waved.
George Solis, NBC News, on the reef.
Good stuff. Still ahead, are you thinking about taking a risk, but fear is maybe holding you back? The 5 simple steps we're going to talk about to find the courage. Up next on NBC News Daily. In today's mental health check, did you wake up feeling brave or courageous? Were you ready to take a chance at something new, take a risk today?
Before you answer that, you might want to listen to what our next guest has to say. She says people often avoid taking risks because of fear, and that fear can create a gap between where you are and where you want to be. Joining us now is Margie Worrell. She is a leadership coach and author of The Courage Gap: 5 Steps to Braver Action. Thank you so much for being with us.
It is great to be with you.
So let's start with the title, The Courage Gap. What is it?
We all have moments where there's something we know we should do and yet we hold back from doing it. And our natural self-protective instincts often keep us hesitating, procrastinating, waiting for the perfect time, waiting till we know we can't fail. And so it creates a gap between our ability to take action and what we do. And it takes courage to step forward amid our fears and doubts and the unknowns and do that very thing.
Easy to say, it takes courage. How? How do you build that courage when in the face of fear, when you're feeling afraid?
Yeah, well, just recognizing no one's born brave. We have to build it. Courage is a muscle. It's like going to the gym. If you haven't been for a long time, you go along, you lift a few pounds and you're like, really, it's hard. But when we do things regularly, it gets easier. We get more comfortable being uncomfortable. And so the first thing we need to do is to recognize that fear is an emotion. And so taking courage is a decision. It's not, don't wait till you feel brave. So I talk about practicing the one brave minute rule, tongue twister. That is, just give yourself permission to be brave for a minute. Just do something for 1 minute. You know, just 1 minute.
Something hard.
Can actually change the trajectory of our lives. And often we stress about doing things. Oh my gosh, what if it goes terribly? What if I fail? And then when people do it, they discover, actually, it wasn't that bad. I should have done it ages ago.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think keeps people from engaging with that bravery? We were talking with as a team about how sometimes fear is a good thing, right? It keeps us from maybe facing embarrassment or other things. But you're saying to lean into the bravery.
Look, we wouldn't be here today if we didn't feel fear. So it's not that fear is all bad. It's just that so often, and particularly in this culture where we're being bombarded, where we live on devices with news feeds engineered to make us feel anxious and insecure, often we have a magnified perception of all the dangers. And so we have more fear than is serving us. More people struggle with anxiety today than have ever struggled before. It's actually the safest time in human history to be alive. So we've got to learn to manage and regulate our fear and ask yourself, is this fear serving me? Play the tape forward. If I stick with this course of action, am I going to end up in a better place? Because we're really lousy at putting ourselves in the shoes of us 5 months, a year from now. And often we don't do the very things that would put us in a place where we'd be more secure over time.
What about kids? Is there a way as parents to kind of, or any of us, to teach the children around us
You
what
bet.
you're saying?
You bet. Absolutely. I have 4 kids myself. And I think often as parents, we are protective of our children. But when you wrap them in cotton wool, you're depriving them of the very experiences that would build their courage muscles for life, to learn how to fall over and pick themselves back up. And so I think as parents, we have to normalise risk, not try and eradicate it. We need to encourage our kids to do things where they mightn't succeed, where they learn the resilience to pick yourself up when you fall. And obviously, as parents, we need to be role modelling that. You can't tell your kids, go out there and do something and be brave and have a growth mindset if you haven't done that, since 1978.
No, I love that. And I love that you say, what, one minute of courage a day can go far. That was your expression.
Yeah.
So it's so good. Margie Worrell, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you both.
There is much more news ahead.
You are watching NBC News Daily.